Hello World Doll Day friends, this is Michael Kanadas with the Carmel Doll Shop and the Grovian Doll Museum. Today we have a program that I've kind of wanted to do for a while, and we're in the gold room at the Grovian Museum. This is the part of the building that is our collection, and I almost filmed it in the front, which is a place that we usually do a lot of videos. But I thought today I would do this here because the item that I want to talk about and the item over the fireplace, there is a connection to the two pieces. I want to talk about saints. One of the saints that I'm particularly fond of is Saint Elizabeth. And she lived many, many centuries ago. And she liked to help the poor, but her husband did not like her to feed the poor. So she devised a way of putting bread under her skirts. And as time went on, her skirts got wider and wider and wider with all of the loaves of bread. This was very irritating to her husband. And he had his secret police follow her, and they caught her in the act of helping the poor. And they asked her to lift up her skirt. And when she did, instead of loaves of bread falling out, rose petals fell out. So Saint Elizabeth is not only the saint of the poor, she's also the saint of roses. So that leads me to this. So a few years back, I ordered off of online a wax figure of Saint Elizabeth that I felt was definitely from the 18th century. When it arrived, and I was intrigued by the fabric that it was dressed in, the costume. And a lot of times saints are dressed in reliquary type of costumes, meaning that the costume had some meaning to the saint. Now, I'm not saying that this is 500 or 600 years old, but it's absolutely the 18th century. So when the figure arrived, unfortunately it was broke into probably 100 pieces. There was barely a hand like this left. And of course, I was devastated. There was really nothing that I could do about it, and it was really beyond repair. But it had all the wonderful fabric. And I thought, I've got to do something to save this and preserve it. So at the time, we happened to have this doll that had nothing covering its dress, this is a cardboard frame under all of this. And I thought, okay, this is a wonderful way to preserve it. But as I was working with the piece, I happened to really notice the fabrics. Now, this does have wear to it. It's not in perfect condition, but it kept reminding me of something. And what I realized is that it reminded me of one of the only surviving dresses that belonged to the French Queen Marie Antoinette. So I actually did some comparisons and come to find out that we have some of this embroidery that was almost identical, and all of this handwork of the roses was practically identical. Now, I feel, maybe you can disagree with me, it's okay, that I feel that embroidery and needlework is almost a signature, like a signature on a document. So that just leads me to think, could it be Marie Antoinette's, one of her lost dresses? And then I thought it was kind of interesting that it was put on Saint Elizabeth. During the Revolution, over 6,000 people were guillotined. And they did it systematically, ruthlessly. But one person was the revolutionaries were very, very nervous about, and that was the sister of Louis XVI, who was named Elizabeth. And she was a very saintly lady, highly educated. In fact, she was in charge of Louis XVI's children's education, book learning education, and also instructed their religious education. So that made me think, could this be an article that was put on Saint Elizabeth to honor Elizabeth, another Elizabeth, from many, many years later? After the Revolution, anything that would be positive towards the French royal family was illegal. If you had an artifact or a memento that you found to be positive, it was illegal and you could, in fact, be guillotined. Now, one of the reasons that they were so afraid of guillotining Elizabeth during the Revolution is because they thought that that would bring sympathy towards her and give her a saintly status. And they're exactly what they thought happened, because they were so cruel that they guillotined 16 people before her, and she never lost her composure, and she was there for each and every one of them in a positive way. So she ultimately became a saint. So I think it's very possible, I'm not saying that it is, that this fabric that is now preserved on, I think, something to pay homage to Elizabeth. We will pop in some of the dresses, the dress that is believed that Rose Bertin created for Marie Antoinette. All of the royal family, how they were dressed, whether it's extravagantly or modestly, was part of their job to promote industry. And if you think about this, this is a very small amount of embroidery that would have been on a dress 100 times bigger than this. This provided a lot of jobs and revenue for the makers. And I do think it's funny that, or ironic, that it's in a room that we have Le Brun, the great artist Le Brun, who painted Marie Antoinette and Elizabeth. The two things are together. Almost 50 years, lace went out of style. So I intentionally made sure that in my recreation that I wanted to showcase lace, because for centuries and centuries, lace was a part of ladies' investment portfolio, if you like. So, of course, like all things, it's prettier on the front than it is on the back, and a lot of the fabrics were disintegrated. So I used the tools and the lace to create a kind of an ethereal look to the piece. Now this was fun for me to do because, in a way, I'm not saying that this totally is, or I can prove it is, but I think there's a great possibility, and it's always nice to have around your house a saint that you can look at, and in a way, this is kind of a double saint. Saint Elizabeth I and Saint Elizabeth II. Many collectors do not care for French fashions with the shoulder head variety where the head doesn't move. But you know what? This, I think, totally works, and with the position of the head, she does have dignity, and she is quite regal. I hope you enjoyed this segment, and If you have some historic documented fabric or special things, you might want to consider a project like this. It did not hurt the fabric in any way, and actually it will get a lot more appreciation in the years to come. Anyways, doll friends, thank you, and we will see you a little later. Bye-bye.
Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.